Hello, folks. Welcome to this week's Hang. This week, we got two up-and-coming young writers, Thalia Ranjbar and Cartusciello. We're going to talk about their new project, Nina and the Gen, and what inspires them and how they take an idea and develop it into, hopefully, our next Broadway hit. Enjoy the Hang.
You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Hang, Thalia Ranjbar, Kat, Cartusciello. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was perfect.
Yeah, and Ramin Karamlu. So we got some great names here. I really first want to say nice to meet you.
It's great to meet you as well.
It's great to see you again.
Likewise.
Thalia and you connected with me on the old Tickety Talk almost a year ago. Mm-hmm. I think it was my first TikTok I put out. I put that out, and you did a duet, I guess they call it. Mm-hmm. And you were just saying, I'd love to connect. I've got a project to talk about.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it, and I was like, all right. But it's taken us almost a year to finally get that coffee in for you to fill me in on the project you both have been working on. So first of all, I want to say I'm glad we finally got to meet.
Too.
I think it was last week or week before that. And again, to meet you, which we'll start talking about your projects. I wanted to have you on because I found it inspiring, and I do find new writing inspiring, let alone coming from two young artists such as yourself in this industry, and like who could possibly and most likely will be the future, and to start spreading those seeds, and if this platform helps. But obviously I was really touched by you reaching out for the reason you did and wanting to maybe see if I can help be part of it and help get it off its feet, which I love doing because I've done that throughout this year, even like with the last match to help out mates. Mm-hmm. And I love that idea of working with people just as friends and let's see what happens. You know, we all know what the end goal we want to be, but there's a lot of steps to get there, development. And then, as they say, the journey is the best, is where you learn the most. Mm-hmm. So where to begin? So let's start with you.
Okay.
You're like a theater maker. Is what I was reading in that article, which is great because you're, an artist by your own right, choreographer, director, writers.
Yeah.
Where did it all start? And you're half Iranian.
Half Salvadoran.
Half Salvadoran.
Born and raised in Toronto.
Italian for Kat. Mm-hmm. Whereabouts in Italy?
Amalfi.
Oh, beautiful.
Puglia also. I've actually never met the Italian side of my family. The one's still in Italy, actually.
Right. Were you born there or here?
Here. I was born
and
here.
Have you been back at all?
No. Well, my sister has. A lot of my family has too, but I've never been able to make it myself. But I should be going this spring, so that's very exciting.
For how long will you go for?
Just 10 days.
First time.
Yeah.
And to see family and whatnot?
Just to visit mostly. I'm not entirely sure yet. We haven't fully figured it out. But
oh, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
It's one of my favorite countries. I love it there.
It's beautiful.
Okay, let's start
awesome.
with where did this connection come from? You guys.
Yeah, so we both went to NYU, the Graduate Musical Theater Writing Program, but slightly different times. Kat was a cycle before me, and I was in the process of pitching my thesis musicals, and there were some extenuating circumstances, and I didn't end up writing with who I was initially going to write with. But one of our advisors, Deborah Brevoort, knew that Kat and I would be a good match, so she set us up, and then we had our first meeting.
Clicked immediately. It was kind of funny. We were like, oh, this is fate. We were supposed to write together. So
yeah, and then Kat was stoked about the idea, and then it just snowballed.
It's a beautiful idea, and I was like, okay, yes.
Yeah.
And this is the idea we're going to talk about today?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, it was just a one-page sort of like synopsis?
Pretty much, yeah. I think it was just the synopsis, character breakdown, synopsis that does not look like what it looks
it was,
like
it
right
was
now.
based in 1001 Nights back then. That was a lot of the inspiration for it.
Yeah, it was a lot more
We
rooted
moved
in
away
that.
from that at a certain point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was where we started.
Yeah.
So what's this the show called, or at this point the working title? And
Right now it's called Nema and the Gen.
do you want to tell us a bit about that?
About the show?
Yeah, because this is why we've connected.
Yeah.
So let's start with that. Then I do want to know, like, especially for folks your age and even younger who dream about doing this, which we all still dream about.
Yeah.
You dream about. Where did it, like, so you went to school and whatnot. We can talk all about that. But let's talk about, this
show?
project? Yeah.
Sure. So it's about Nema, and she's 22-year-old Iranian American girl, and it's ultimately about like her pursuit to connect with the culture that she has been longing for in her upbringing, but has been disconnected from because of a strenuous relationship with her father, and reasons that become known to her, but at first it just seems unreasonable. He doesn't want to connect, so all of that kind of is discovered. And yeah, we at the top of the show, we lose her grandmother. But then she begins to present herself in this like spirit realm and shadow realm, and gives Nema a box that is full of secrets and passports of people she doesn't recognize and artwork. And that is kind of like what launches her into her investigation to figure out, what is this life that I haven't known anything about? Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, and her grandmother comes back through the box in the form of a gen, but with jumbled memories, because she passed away with dementia, and she comes back sort of as this cosmic entity, but not entirely with all of her powers. And so they have to work together to kind of figure out what happened to Nema's family, why they fled Iran, and that in turn lets Nema learn about her family, her culture, what they went through, and it also helps her connect with her father at the end of the show too. And that's really like the tie of the whole show, is like their relationship and how it's about coming together, and like the intergenerational relationships that we're trying to cultivate that are important, like how we can learn from each other on both sides.
So when it comes to the book, are you down as co-writers?
I'm the book writer and lyricist.
I'm the composer.
So, Italian, I've heard some of the demos, and like there is beautiful seeds of what's innately Iranian sounds, the music.
Thank you.
How did you?
A lot of research.
Yeah.
Listening to absolutely everything. I mean, Thalia also introduced me to so much. Huge fan of Gagouche.
We made a playlist that were
a huge playlist.
Musical theater songs
Yeah.
that were, inspirations. And also I added a lot of like the Persian pop and classics that I grew up with. Like I remember sitting in the car and my dad would put the CD in and I'd be like, number three. And it was like Aref, Gugoush, Black Cats, Mansour.
I want this playlist.
Like,
Can you send me this playlist?
Oh, absolutely.
Share with-
Yeah.
And do you have modern like Iranian folk singers and then there's Shervin,
Shervin, yes, yeah.
who that song just won the Grammy, right?
Yeah, oh my gosh. And thank God it
Yeah.
did. So worthy.
We also have a lot of music from the Rumi musical on that playlist as
We
well.
sure do, yeah.
Because
Isn't that-
came out when we started writing it. And so
It's my
Did I
favorite.
call you?
Kat song.
When it
did.
dropped, I was like, Kat, open Spotify now.
yeah. And I was like, well, that's the bar. Okay, fine. That's
Well,
fair.
Donna as well, who
Yeah.
I guess co-composed that with Nadim. Like it's
It's
really
brilliant.
real deal, and it's the only Zitz probe I've been to. When the orchestra started, I cried. I had tears in my eyes because I was like, "This is so authentic," and it's the first time, being I'm pretty. I would think oblivious to some things, and just life goes on. You got so much to do, and then suddenly I'm in a room with an all Middle Eastern cast. I was like, "What is happening right now?"
That's really powerful.
And I still, to this day, I'm still trying to figure out what that feeling was, because I've never experienced anything like that before. But it was also on merit, and it had to be that way for now, at least. And that's what I love about when I heard your demos. I was like, oh, I hear a bit of home there. So, and that's what I love is when it's not the demo, it's at the rawest form. It's probably nowhere near what you guys want it to be, where it will be. But to already have that heart, I was like, oh, this is very interesting.
That's really
And
great
it sounds
to hear.
fresh, and I really liked it. And I can't wait to, however I can help to be part of that. So you did a lot of research and whatnot. It's amazing when you mention Gagouche, because especially with the Iranian community, of all the few things I have done, the one thing they bring up first is like, you worked with Gagouche twice. Yeah. She's unreal.
She's a legend. That's
yeah.
so. I actually didn't know that. I can't believe I didn't know you did that.
Can you tell us about that?
'cause she did the show Gagouche Academy. So I was on twice as a guest judge, I guess you would call me, or guest, I don't know, I'd go help them. They'd do the songs, I'd give them a bit of advice.
Okay.
But
Right on.
with the translator, because my Farsi is getting worse and worse.
Yeah, no,
That's so cool,
fair.
though.
Yeah.
Wow, she's a legend.
This was in London. Yeah, she came over.
Wow.
Amazing.
Wow.
So we're at the stage of script is you've got a draft, obviously. You need to get into room to start doing demos.
Yes.
So you've not worked with any theater company for it yet, or submitted to anyone yet.
So we had our the table read basically as our thesis presentation in May
Last
last
yeah.
year, and then we were fortunate we got to present a song at in a concert at 54 Below, so it had a bit of a presentation that way. And then kind of since then we've been thinking about, because we got great notes from our thesis advisors on how we can restructure it and how do we get the story going faster, trimming the fat and all the stuff. And then we've applied to something called the Rhinebeck Writers Retreat. So fingers crossed, they'll send us away to go and write
to fix this next draft.
Yeah.
So how does that work at a retreat? If you get accepted to go on this?
This particular retreat is a week long, and we would just spend that time, I think, reworking the structure of the show. We have all the pieces and the different scenes that we want, but especially with Mandana, the character, and her dementia, we want to work with this nonlinear timeline to sort of help with the sense of confusion and mystery for all of it. And so we want to try reassembling things and also fix the arrangements so that it's feasible for a band in the United States to do, basically.
Well, forgive my ignorance, and to go on a retreat like this, what's the benefit of doing that than you guys just going to the Poconos for a week? Do you go and on the first day present it to someone, other writers and stuff, who then give notes, so then you go away and every day you're...
There is, if I'm not mistaken, advisors that are there, and then opportunity to share at the end of the week and get a little bit of feedback. It's also they give you a small stipend, which is really nice.
And they pay for the expenses for you to go there and stay there. So,
but from the first day, though, are you working with people?
Well, I think we can structure
you,
this however we want. And so, yes, we could. And it's really just an intensive period for us to really focus. And
also, I guess it gives you that space where you're just away from everything. You know why you're there.
Exactly.
You have people who have more experience, know more, that you can bounce off ideas.
Yeah.
Great.
It's so nice. No, you can't. Don't call me. Don't text me. I'm not coming to work.
Where is this?
Rhinebeck, New York.
Yeah, upstate.
Yeah,
right?
Upstate. Yeah.
Sorry,
don't know how far
wrong.
away. I know. But
So that's it. If you get
is
accepted, the funding, that's what happens. You're funded to do that.
For the week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so fingers crossed. But I mean, regardless of that outcome, we're planning on doing something soon because, we're just
the time
excited
is now.
to keep going.
Yeah. And
So
we
that's-
really feel that the time is now. I mean, it seems like it's something that a lot of people are really interested in with everything going on in Iran. And so
And
even
even
the
just
world is listening.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just going to say, people in our circle, are just asking more questions. You know what I mean? And when they say things this year after our 45, there was Yalda, and we had just presented it. And we have a song in our show it's called Shabe Yalda, and people were texting me for the first time, happy Shabe Yalda Mubarak, my non-Iranian
I was just listening
friends.
to that demo this morning.
Yeah. And they they're excited because through the piece they're learning these things. So their excitement feeds us in that way because yes, it can happen. Let's write it.
Yeah.
Shauda Yada Mubarak. What is the translation just for those listening?
Shabe Yalda Mubarak. So Yalda is the longest night of the year. So it's basically winter solstice. Happy winter solstice is how I would translate it for a non-Iranian. And it's celebration of lightness taking over the dark. And it was connected to harvest, and people put pomegranate and watermelon and chai and sweets. I mean, there's lots of things you could eat. I mean, mahi polo, fish and rice is very common. And then people often stay up all night and sing songs and read stories. And
So our New Year's is coming up at the time of this recording this.
Yeah, Nowruz. That's my favorite holiday.
We should include that in the next draft.
What do you do for... you should. It's a great celebration. What are you going to do this year for... I don't know when this will come out. So March 21st, the night of the 20th, or New Year's.
Nowruz. What am I going to do personally?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I hopefully something. I haven't set up a half scene in a while because I used to do it like back home. My grandmother
Explain to us
always
what a
set
half
it up.
scene means. 'Cause
Yes.
my mom's doing it now too.
Oh yeah, so half scene is the centerpiece of Nowruz. It's the like how we set the table for the Persian New Year, and it has symbols, 7 symbols that start with the S sound, and they're all things that will bring you goodness in this way or the other for the new year, and they symbolize, what you hope for. So there's like a mirror and garlic and gold and oh my gosh, what else? Like spices.
Yeah.
The gold. Did I say the goldfish? Yeah.
You said gold.
So and then also the goldfish. Oh yeah, sabzi. So like herbs, plant life,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Little patch of grass on a plate.
Exactly. And it's so beautiful and symbolic. And my grandmother was always especially when we were little, we would like paint eggs too and
Yeah.
put on the table. And she was always so excited about it. And it was just so special. So it's something that I, every year, even if I don't set up a half scene, I call her, FaceTime. She shows me the half scene she set up.
And where's your family now?
In Aurora, Ontario.
Oh, of course, that's right.
Yeah, north of Toronto.
Yeah, I know it well.
Yeah.
And just so it's not so Iran-centric, your family,
I'm
you
super
grew
here
up
for
here?
it. Yes.
So you said you're born here?
Yeah, I grew up in New Jersey. My family's part of them are from Brooklyn and part of them are from Pennsylvania.
And what got you into composing?
It's always been part of my life, I would say. My mom's an opera singer, so
Really?
I've just always had music in my life, and I got into composing sort of in a roundabout way. I thought I wanted to be an actor back when I was younger, but I've always been drawn to creating, and that's sort of how it worked out.
So what was the instrument that started inspiring? Was it piano, guitar?
Oh, I started playing, I can't remember. I think violin was my first instrument. Violin and clarinet and piano. And now I play bass too, but
Do you?
Yeah.
And you still play the violin and
I do.
clarinet?
Yes. Yes. All the demos, those clarinet and violin sounds are me playing them actually.
You were doing the violin?
Yeah.
She's fantastic. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Still don't want to be an actress though?
I think I've moved past it. If I ever do act in my stuff, I want to be in the background.
Yeah.
I like creating things for
So
other
this is not the
people.
first project you composed.
No.
It's becoming quite, this is what it's getting most of your attention at this point?
Yeah, because this is the one that is currently like in development for us, and so we're putting our attention to this baby to try and get it out there in the world.
Is anything previous to this completed that's out there?
Yeah, I have.
Even like single songs.
I actually have another show that I wrote. It's called Then She Ran.
And She Ran.
It's a heroine's journey story, so all about female empowerment. And again, with like the intergenerational relationships, there are 3 women who are from different generations, and they learn from each other. They're all going through different types of crises, and they help each other get through them.
Where can we be privy to this? Like,
You
or
could
hear
go
it?
to thensheran.com.
Has this had a life somewhere on stage?
It has, yeah. It's had a couple of productions. We actually were in Pennsylvania last fall for a Fringe festival, so it got some work there. It's done some developmental work here in New York. It had its own reading at 54 Below, so
Great.
we got a concert of it. And
When was that?
That was in February of last year.
Okay.
So it's almost actually past the anniversary of that. Yeah.
And She Ran or Then She Ran?
Then She Ran.
ThenSheRan.com.
Yep.
What's the next hope for that?
Well, we're still working on. At this point, honestly, we want to make it longer. It's only 60 minutes long,
Right.
and we want to find ways to expand on it and expand on the ideas. Whether that means we turn it into something more episodic, or we go in a digital or virtual direction with it, maybe turn it into film. We're not entirely sure yet, but
Yeah, because there's so many platforms that you're exposed to that even just like YouTube and whatnot, or, there's TikTok, Instagram, there's things you can start
Yeah.
planting those seeds and
yeah.
you can really use to your advantage.
And
Wow,
that's
can't
written
wait
with
to-
Alex Becker, by the way.
Oh, very nice. I can't wait to look that up.
Yeah, it's a really exciting project. We love that one.
So
a lot,
that's
too.
brewing on the side still.
Yeah.
Waiting to see what you guys do
That's
next.
further along, so.
Right. So then going back to this, let's talk about your training. So you both
Yeah.
studied at the same place, just different times.
Yes, for grad school.
I graduated a year before Thalia did, so.
So then what got you into all this?
Well,
Growing up in Aurora.
Yeah, so my mom is a big musical theater person. Like I mean, even now she takes singing lessons and stuff. And when we were young, I remember listening to Broadway soundtracks and stuff a lot. Sound of Music is and always has been my my love. And but I was actually like a pretty serious athlete for most of my life. I played basketball, and then I studied kinesiology in my undergrad. But then I had a career-ending injury, basically. So I mean, I still play for fun, but once I was hurt, it was hard for me to come back from it. And I started dancing. And my best friend is a dancer. She's been a dancer for her whole life. Her name is Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
And
hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. And in the rehab, there was a lot of like stretching and strength training that's complementary to dancing. So she was there for me. I was really down at that time. And then she was my first dance teacher. She started teaching me like in my backyard, in the garage, in my basement.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I but I was still like, okay, I'm going to be a sports medicine doctor. You know, the doctor was like,
what we were all meant to be
yes.
in Iran.
That was the initial plan. And then in undergrad, the first time I really leaned forward in a class was English 1000, which was funny. I didn't really expect it, but the way he talked about storytelling, for some reason, I was so moved and obsessed with that class. And then I changed it to become a BA. So instead of Bachelor of Science, it was a Bachelor of Arts. So I could take theater studies classes and more English classes and stuff. And then it just kind of like snowballed from there. I started writing for theater and stuff and directing. I had been directing before, but then I really focused,
What did the parents think about the switch and where you're at now?
It was a shock, I think, to some.
Of course. I knew that was going to be the answer. So.
Yeah. My mom, I think, was not so surprised. And I don't think my dad was so surprised either. I think, you worry because it's not always the most financially
lucrative.
Lucrative, that's the word.
Listen,
I'm going
down through with my own kids, and I'm like, but I was them. But now it's like such double staring. I'm like,
yeah.
What are you talking about? Will you be a musician? Get out of here.
Yeah.
I can understand the anxiety, though.
But I think, I mean, they were very excited about this. I tell my dad, he's like, Rami. And yeah, so it was an adjustment, I guess, but we're here. I mean, I obviously wouldn't be here without them. So I'm very thankful.
You got to follow your passion, right? And the rest hopefully takes care of itself.
Yeah, life is too short.
Life is too short.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the next steps for this project?
So we are aiming for some type of like industry reading in the fall with our new draft and all Persian cast and like inviting, I guess like it would be, well, we haven't really talked about who would be invited, but the goal is to generate interest around the piece and see if there are people who like want to start working on it. Like, are there music directors, choreographers, designers that we can invite and like, because once they start to look at a piece, it evolves again, as you know.
It would be great to get designers attached to it. There's a whole element of like shadow work we want to do, which is something that we sort of experimented with, but having designers who know how to light that sort of thing and costume that sort of thing would be really wonderful. And you don't have to give
names away, but do you have people like you like, oh, our wish list would be such and such and such and such, who know how to work with shadows, for example, in this situation?
Shadows specifically, not yet.
Yeah.
Well, for that sort of lighting that you're envisioning.
Oh, wow. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head that would.
So I guess that's where you assemble like the whole team where you could start collaborating the next step. But I guess that comes with, as you say, after reading, you hope there's a producer or a company to help.
Exactly.
You need developmental funding.
Yeah,
exactly. And I'm also just like, as part of that step, like engaging with a bunch of Iranians and like, because it's hopefully material that they really would connect with and see themselves in and like have specific perspectives on a shared experience, if that makes sense. And like that feedback is invaluable to us as well. And yeah, just seeing, how can we make characters more specific? How can we make the story like move better? How are the beats aligned? And like, all of that stuff after another reading. There's so many rewrites all the time.
Well, listen, I just spoke with Carrie Butler on a previous podcast, and Beetlejuice was 7 years in the making.
That's
her relationship with that was 7 years
for a show. Like, that's her relationship with it. So the timeline
From
of the show is probably a
workshops
little longer than that. But yeah, that's pretty standard for a musical.
That's
So-
why, like, and I know you saw the last match. That's jumped so many hurdles so quickly. Like from March, it was just like an idea and a quick draft to us fighting in a ring in front of an audience with a band and script by September. So it's sort of like, okay, it's got great momentum, but let's just make sure now let's look at the development again and make sure we're ready for the next step. And something as noble as this and something so close to you as well, you want to make sure you've done that and you got a good team behind you to help get it to where it should be.
Yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait for it to be like on stage, no stands, like in costume, set, like all that stuff. But
the
you do have to be-
Conjuring scene when Mandana appears, like that's
crazy.
That
I'll
could be
cry.
very
Yeah.
exciting.
So when it comes to that, and right now, people are hearing about it, is there a way they can support? Is there a way they can hear it and just start developing their sort of an audience, is what I'm trying to say. How do we start developing an audience for it? Is there stuff out there now that you want them to see? That's obviously, if it's out there, you want them to see it.
I don't think it's on any public forums yet. We have our sizzle reel.
And I have a couple demos on my SoundCloud.
Oh, period. There you
What's
go.
your SoundCloud?
Kat Cartusciello. This is my full name.
All right, we'll make sure
Hard
that's
to
all
spell.
on here
Yeah.
too. And all your other work will be on there too?
Yes, yeah.
Great.
I have other work on there as well. Any demos that I have, really, I just sort of put them up there. But yeah, the sizzle reel is a really good place to start. We have that on YouTube as of now.
Oh, what's on the sizzle reel?
So the sizzle reel it has songs and scene samples, and it also has interviews with Kat and I, talking about the story and giving people context, and also where we come from, how we connect to the piece, as well as commentary from actors we were working with at the time. So Raz Sarabi and Georgia Bood were in the sizzle reel, and they talked about how they connect to the characters and what they were discovering from the piece and stuff. So it's a snapshot, I guess, of what we're working on.
And it gets an aesthetic idea across for the
Yes.
type of world we want to live
And
in.
whose YouTube channel is that on?
Yours, right?
Yeah. Yeah, if you search up Thalia Ranjbar on YouTube, you should be able to find
We'll make
it.
sure that's on here as well.
Yeah, okay.
Who on the demo? Who's saying Reza?
Georgia
Bood.
Bood.
He's Iranian, right?
No, he's Lebanese.
Oh, Lebanese. Okay.
Yeah.
Does he have a bit of a Middle Eastern accent?
I think he can turn it on
Yeah,
when he
I
wants to.
kind of liked it in the
Yeah.
song though. I was like, oh, it's nice to get that in there.
Yeah.
Unless maybe I forced my ear to hear it, but I thought I heard it. I was like,
No,
oh, I
yeah,
like that.
he did. Even in the scenes in the sizzle reel and stuff too.
Yeah.
He's so
Oh,
great.
Great.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that.
He was wonderful for helping us just get that song developed and figuring out the key that it should live in and all of that really good stuff.
Yeah, it was great
So-
storytelling, to be fair.
Thank
It
you.
was like, it took me from A to B, which I loved.
Oh, that's good
And
to
that's
hear.
for a demo, You said about your SoundCloud, and I've always wondered about this with people who are developing as artists. How do you know what to put on SoundCloud and what not to? Because I think we should protect the process, but I also understand we live in a world where we can like share things, and it's a great way to get your work out there. You can have your own TV channel on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can have your own platforms with Instagram
Yeah.
and Tickety Talk. How do you know?
I
what
love that you call it that. That is so funny.
It's stuck now. It's stuck now. I swear, when I first I thought it was tic-tac-toe.
The punster in me very much loves that. I will be using that. Thank you very much.
It's all yours. Help me out, because right now I feel like the old man dad jokes.
No, they're great.
But have you ever put something out and then 6 months later you hear back, like, oh, why did I put that down? And you take it down.
Absolutely.
Right.
All the time. Yeah. You get very self-conscious about it. But I think ultimately I write music because I want it to be fun. Like, I want it to be fun for my performers to play. I want it to be fun for me to listen to. And if I check out during listening to my own music, I'm like, all right, never mind, I'll take it down. Or, yeah, I very often listen to things like imagining if I were like in the room with someone else listening over my shoulders, and that.
So what makes you put it up there? What's the standard, or what's your benchmark to go, okay, I'm going to put that up there?
I like it. And it doesn't peak in the
Right,
mix.
right.
Yeah.
So when you put it up there too, are you wanting the feedback? Are you wanting the comments?
I'm always open to it. It's very helpful all of the time. Yeah.
I guess because you're developing it.
Yeah.
And just to see what resonates with people, right?
100%.
Interesting.
It's also really helpful when people say, I don't get it. Like, I don't understand what this is. That's very useful for me too, because
I guess that's it, because like when I post, I don't open the comments, but I'm not necessarily developing anything. It's like, here's my offering. But I guess if you are,
yeah.
then it's a great tool for that as well.
Yeah. It's a great litmus test to see what people really respond to and how and why.
Interesting. We hopefully can maybe do something with this.
Yeah, I mean, I would love that.
Yeah.
It's a thank you for listening to the demos and for having us, by the way. I don't think we've said that yet. And
No,
we're
come
really
on.
grateful for this. Yeah.
No, I think people will take stuff from this, whether it's supporting the project or it's just, I'm listening to you guys and I get inspired by the young minds, but it's your tenacity. It's your, I think we can't underestimate the value of hard work, and like, there's different ways of going about things, and to hear all these different stories, all these different pathways and efforts, it's important that everyone gets as many stories as possible, and then find their way with that and take what they can.
Yeah. And I think there's something really universal in our story too, because Nema's trying to connect to a culture that she really doesn't know anything about. And that can be said for a lot of people our age who, like, their families immigrated over from different countries, and they, through the course of growing up here, maybe weren't as connected to it for different reasons. So
there's a disconnect, I think, that a lot of children of immigrants can feel, and like a fear of, oh, well, am I going to pass this on to my children, my family, the right way? Like, do I have enough knowledge to uphold the traditions and stuff that I loved having? And then it's like, oh, but am I going to mess it up? You know? And that idea of legacy, and like, where do I stand in the lineage? And does it end with me? These like questions that I think universally, like you said, people experience, which is, I hope, non-Iranian people's way into the story as well.
Yeah, well, this is a universal story from what you've already told us. And also, I know you mentioned that it's what a time to be telling the story now, especially with all that's happening in Iran. And unfortunately, that's cyclical, and it's just the boiling point has over-tipped now, and people have enough's enough. But you started the story before the recent turn of events.
Yes.
So that's why it's not, it just happens that this is what's happening now. But this story lived before, and it'll live on after.
Yeah.
It's got that timeless aspect to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because there's another song for Reza that we were looking at, that we have it, but it just we're now zhuzhing it a bit. But they're the first 4 lines of the song. We were like, oh my God, it's because it's very, we can't stand by while innocent people are suffering type of thing. And we were reading it, and I was like, we wrote this way before the protests started, and it just
January
kind of struck
of last
me.
year.
Yeah. And it's great. Like you said, it's cyclical. Like, that notion of let's stand up for what we believe in is never going to expire.
While we're on that topic, then, as 2 young artists, seeing what's happening there, and obviously it's close to home for us, but I think it's not, you don't have to be Iranian to be affected by it. Like, this is a human story. It's not even politics. This is, humans are suffering, and it doesn't, and it just happens to be in our homeland now. But, and I was just thinking that with you right now, sat here as a non-Iranian, but who's supporting and being part of it. So I guess, thank you for letting us be a little Iranian-centric
Thank you for having me.
She's honorary Iranian. She's learning Farsi. We had kebab together. Like, she's in, man.
Do you cook it, or do you go to an Iranian place here?
We ordered from Rava.
I was supposed to go there yesterday, but they open at 3.
So good.
I'm like, I'll try to get in for 1. I'm like, of course, Iranians. Why do we eat at 1? No, it's later. Oh, we should go.
We should
Rava,
go. I love
have
that
ordered from them.
place.
Amazing.
It's fire.
On
yeah.
Madison and 33, around there?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
All
that
right,
was so
deal.
great. What a great night
Our
that
bread
was.
to start things off. Oh
Yeah.
my God. But thank you but also, yeah, you are an honorary Iranian.
She is.
And I
Thank
feel like an honorary Italian because that's the first refuge I took when I left Iran during the war.
Yeah, I did
Which
know
is
that
why
about
I'm
you.
excited to go back as Phantom for the first
Yeah.
time for
That's so
myself to perform there,
exciting.
let alone the show itself.
Wow. Are you performing in Italian or is it
No,
going to be?
sadly.
That's okay.
But I do want to start getting the Duolingo app open again and start learning Italian before I get out there.
That's what she's doing.
Really?
She's on Duolingo
Yeah.
learning Italian.
Well, yeah.
was your
Continuing to
Italian?
practice. Io capisco un po'. Sì?
Grazie
Parlo.
mille.
So good.
I think I'll make a shirt. Hashtag grazie mille.
That's all you
Phantom
need.
mask.
I see those hashtags on your fandom
Oh,
posts.
it's a soft branding because I'm like, okay, an ADEX shirt that says grazie mille is coming down the line at some point. So for now, there's no site or page for this
No,
show yet.
we very much have to build that. That is also the next step.
Yeah,
So
which
for now, let's go to your SoundCloud, which we'll put the link on here,
Yes.
and your YouTube channel, which we can at least see the sizzle reel.
Yeah. Also have my website, thaliaranjbar.com if you want to check it out. My Instagram.
It's a good website. I saw
Yeah,
that
you
this
saw
morning.
my website?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do
Sarah
you have a
made
website?
it.
I do. Catcart.art.
Oh, very nice. I'm gonna check that out now. And good old Sarah did the website.
Sarah McMillan designed my website.
What does Sarah McMillan
that.
do?
She's a dancer. She's teaching ballroom dance at Artistica in Aurora.
Is she?
Yeah.
And she's a website designer.
She, not formally, like she'd probably kill me. Sorry, Sarah, but she's very good at it.
Well, Sarah's
She
gonna
has
get a
great
lot
eye.
of. She's gonna be inundated with offers now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for joining us on the hang.
Thank you.
You can come back anytime as this thing develops. Let's keep the story. Let's build an audience because everyone loves new work. Everyone loves work that's new to them. I know how people reacted to Rumi, and I feel like we'll get the same support going this way, even based on the demos I heard.
Thank you.
You are an honorary Iranian because you got the sounds. I was like, wow, this is really beautiful. And that's the
very
bare
great
bones
to
of it
hear.
right now.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited. And if there's any way I can help, I will.
Thank you.
We're
That means
really
the world.
grateful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a privilege to be here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks for the hang.
Thank you.